Hello everyone, Pastor Peter here, and we are in Genesis chapter 37 today. And this chapter, I'm not going to be reading through a list of names, no genealogy, at least I don't think so, because it's about the story of Joseph. So, good story. We're back into storytelling mode. Hopefully this will be a little bit more relaxing than the last one. And this is what it says. Genesis 37. So Jacob settled again in the land of Canaan, where his father had lived as a foreigner. This is the account of Jacob and his family. When Joseph was 17 years old, he often tended his father's flock. He worked for his half-brothers, the sons of his father's wife, Bilhah and Zilpah. But Joseph reported to his father some of the bad things his brothers were doing. Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other children because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day, Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe. But his brothers hated Joseph because their father loved him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say a kind word to him. One night Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers about it, they hated him more than ever. "Listen to this dream," he said. "We were out in the field, tying up bundles of grain. Suddenly my bundle stood up, and your bundles gathered around and bowed low before mine." His brothers responded, "So you think you'll be our king? Do you? Do you actually think you will reign over us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dreams and the way he talked about them. Soon Joseph had another dream, and again he told his brothers about it. "Listen, I had another dream," he said. "The sun, moon, and even the 11 stars bowed low before me." This time he told the dream to his father as well as to his brothers, but his father scolded him. "What kind of dream is that?" he asked. "Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow to the ground before you?" But while his brothers were jealous of Joseph, his father wondered what the dreams meant. Soon after this, Joseph's brothers went to pasture their father's flock in Shechem. When they had been gone for some time, Jacob said to Joseph, "Your brothers are pasturing the sheep at Shechem. Get ready, and I will send you to them." "I'm ready to go," Joseph replied. "Go and see how your brothers and the flock are getting along," Jacob said. "Then come back and bring a report." So Jacob sent him on his way, and Joseph traveled to Shechem from their home in the valley of Hebron. When he arrived there, a man from the area noticed him wandering around the countryside. "What are you looking for?" he asked. "I'm looking for my brothers," Joseph replied. "Do you know where they are pasturing their sheep?" "Yes," the man told him. "They have moved on from here, but I heard them saying, 'Let's go on to Dothan.'" So Joseph followed his brothers to Dothan and found them there. When Joseph's brothers saw him coming, they recognized him in the distance. As he approached, they made plans to kill him. "Here comes the dreamer," they said. "Come on, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns. We can tell our father, 'A wild animal has eaten him,' and then we'll see what becomes of his dreams." But when Reuben heard of their scheme, he came to Joseph's rescue. "Let's not kill him," he said. "Why should we shed any blood? Let's just throw him in one of these empty cisterns here in the wilderness. Then he'll die without our laying a hand on him." Reuben was secretly planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father. But when Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped off the beautiful robe he was wearing. Then they grabbed him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. Then, just as they were sitting down to eat, they looked up and saw a caravan of camels in the distance coming towards them. It was a group of Ishmaelite traders taking a load of gum, balm, and aromatic resin from Gilead down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain by killing our brother? We'd have to cover up the crime. Instead of hurting him, let's see if we sell him to those Ishmaelite traders. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." And so his brothers agreed. So when the Ishmaelites, who were Midianite traders, came by, Joseph's brothers pulled him out of the cistern and sold him to them for 20 pieces of silver, and the traders took him to Egypt. Sometime later, Reuben returned to get Joseph out of the cistern. When he discovered that Joseph was missing, he tore his clothes in grief. Then he went back to his brothers and lamented, "The boy is gone. What will I do now?" Then the brothers killed a young goat, dipped Joseph's robe in its blood. They sent the beautiful robe to their father with this message: "Look, at what we found. Doesn't this robe belong to your son?" Their father recognized it immediately. "Yes," he said, "it's my son's robe. A wild animal must have eaten him. Joseph has clearly been torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes and dressed himself in burlap. He mourned deeply for his son for a long time. His family all tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "I will go to my grave mourning for my son," he would say, and then he would weep. Meanwhile, the Midian traders arrived in Egypt, where they sold Joseph to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Potiphar was captain of the palace guard. Like I said, the Bible's full of family drama. We have family drama. All of us do. And a few lessons learned here. Don't be a brat because your brothers will hate you. And favoritism doesn't help within the family. Love all your kids equally as much as you can. I mean, I know everybody has favorites and they all play favorites, but you have to love everybody equally as much as you can in front of the kids. It has to be fair. But as we see here, God has a plan. God has a plan. And he brings us to our knees sometimes. And, that's one of the scariest things for me, too. If things are relatively peaceful, you know that a storm is brewing. And there may be something that God may be testing us soon. Maybe to drive us even further into the fact that he is in control and we are not. And in the stories like this, we need to realize and not make the same mistakes again and not fall into the same traps, but have an attitude of worship and of lifting God up and humbling ourselves. Because when God is at work in us, there's some really challenging moments. Imagine Joseph being an innocent young boy, telling his older brothers that he looked up to, everything that was on his heart, only to have those respond back with bitterness and anger. That gives us another lesson there in that we have to be considerate of those who are younger than us. They just don't know better. Teach them. Tell them. Open up. And it's difficult too because they also know Joseph that it was Jacob's favorite. And it was from the woman that Jacob loved and lost. And now Joseph is the only reminder, and Benjamin, but the reminder of the woman that he really loved. And so as we look into this story, we see that there's turmoil in so many ways. They were young, they were rash. Part of the problem was Jacob's fault of not teaching his sons propriety or manners. You don't sell your brother to someone else. That's not something you do. That's not something you think of. That's not something that happens. But when you know your children and you know what they're up to, what they can be up to, you have to be careful with what you do and what you send to them, because Joseph was just in a place where he's going to get in trouble. But sometimes we just don't know better. As parents and as people, we let things happen. We allow things to happen. But it's not because we want things to go wrong. It's just that we didn't know better. And it could be because we didn't pray enough. It could be because we weren't thinking. But, Jacob was concerned for his son, so he sent out Joseph to go look for them. Not a bad thing. But Joseph was already hated, which was a sad situation. I can't imagine how Joseph felt. Being a young guy, not sure what's going on, thinking that his brothers who loved him, this is how dysfunctional this is. He probably didn't know better. He probably didn't know that his brothers really hated him, maybe annoyed with him. But his brothers were going to kill him, which was the worst part. But now his brothers sold him. And as he was seeing this happening, I'm sure he was thinking, yeah, funny guys. Joke's on me. I got it now. And then next thing you know, he's living out his nightmare. He's in a place where he didn't choose to be. Now he's a servant. But yet we see later on the character of Joseph. In the midst of his suffering, what did he do? And that's the response to us. In the midst of our trials that we are going through, what do? We could be woe is me as we see as Jacob was, or we could respond the way Joseph did in the next chapter as we're going to read. And so let's take a look at that. But for today, let's just take in the aspects and the different aspects of the story. How would we feel if we were Jacob? How would we feel if we were Joseph? Reuben even, who was supposed to save his brother. And then the brothers, the bitterness that was there. Did they have any sort of brokenheartedness or contriteness afterwards? I don't see it, not until later on in the story. But put yourself in the situation right now. It's a tough situation. But God has a plan. Through our weaknesses and our infirmities and our stupidity, God has a plan. And that's the beautiful thing. God's promises comes true. He will take care and save the line of Jacob. All right, everyone. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.